gonna take it down.
This is private property. They can shoot you.
They can't shoot me. It's still illegal.
This public highway is paid with my tax dollars.
Wait, you can't go out there. Our citizens and our police have guns.
Let's drop it. Let's just drop it. Drop it. Drop it.
Yes, yes. Sic semper tyrannis. Victory over tyranny.
Red Pill was a really fun horror to watch. I think from the very opening scene, I was intrigued to see what was happening, why that was even happening, who those people are, and what was the whole story behind it. And then it just jumps cut to a bunch of friends going on a road trip and staying at a place. And I thought that was just such a great transition and introduction to the film. And then when it gets to the house, it's always one of those eerie places where you go to an Airbnb and you're just like, where is this and who has been here before and what kind of vibes are this homeowners trying to create here. So it just constantly had this feeling of it being an unsettling place. And then there are a lot of different shots that were taken outside to really show how isolated they were from society and from the world. So it was just a really great use of the space and making sure that they emphasized just how alone they were. And then when it progressed and the very end and that just final scene of the whole white supremacy storyline just coming together was just the great wraparound of it being a true horror story and how creepy and unsettling and how actually horrific it is. So I think overall it just did so well in creating that consistent tone of horror vibes throughout the whole movie. So it was just really entertaining to watch. It had a great cast in it. I thought it just had some really great production value to it. And it was just so creative, the creation of the house and how it was just kind of this doll house essentially. So overall, I just had a really great time with
Wow, Red Pill was a lot. It was very heavy on purpose. I think that it did a really good job of keeping this air of mystery. It was very psychological. You know, the group was essentially being hunted, and we didn't know what was going on, even though we did see kind of like the other side, that like the POV of the villains, if you will. We never really knew what exactly they were. I thought incorporating the animal aspect was really interesting. It was very like tribal, very primal, you know, just with the nature, and they're covered in leaves and they're just urinating. It was a lot. It was definitely a journey. Obviously, you know, a commentary on the 2020 election. And it just feels like not that far off. Like it's fiction, but like, you know, it's not that far away from reality. The one thing that I was initially disappointed by, but then impressed or like relieved by, was that they didn't kill off the black guy first. We thought that they did, and I was just like, ugh, disappointing. But while he was captured first, they didn't actually, well, we didn't see them kill him. We saw that he was still alive later in the film. Incredible job to all of the actors. They did such a great job, such a convincing job of, portraying the characters. In particular, I loved the Buddhist woman who obviously ended up being the red pill, and I loved the black woman. Her performance was so incredible, especially right at the end where she was crying but then like turned manic laughing. Just really raw, really real. Really touching performances by everybody, and this one's gonna stick with me for a while. So great job.
One scene in particular that I really enjoyed was when both families were sitting around the dinner table. That scene was just extremely intense, but also very intriguing. I felt like that was a great way to really give insight to both families and like give us some background information on them while also drawing the audience in. And I think that worked really well. Overall, I feel like the visuals and the sound effects worked really well in this film to help create suspense and really just draw the audience in and keep us on the edge of our seat the entire time. The ending of the film was really intense, but it really worked well to help wrap the film together. Overall, I feel like the acting was absolutely fantastic, and I know I was on the edge of my seat the entire time. And for that, I enjoyed
This
this
movie
film.
is absolutely terrifying, and the whole crazy for blood sect premise is just totally scary, as this is nothing fictional. I love the performances, showing each character's personality and ultimate rise and demise based on their reactions or actions during the film. And the film's surreal attachment to a political issue is even more creepy, as again, this is not far from the truth at all. So I love their cool special effects, and I appreciated the social critique they put forward. It was just nicely done. The thrilling or mysterious happenings outside this nice cottage that this particular group rented out is just very plausible again, and that's why it's totally terrifying. I truly enjoyed it.
Like was
Great.
very interesting. It had a lot of elements to it that have been super popular for the last 5 years. I think that the filmmakers did a good job at kind of incorporating elements from, Hereditary, Get Out, oh my god, and then the Maiden's Tale, Handmaid's Tale. I felt like it was really interesting, and I loved how much they achieved on a low budget, or relatively low budget. The setting was gorgeous. It's always nice to be able to shoot something in like New England during autumn, with the leaves changing and all that. That was absolutely gorgeous. I love that. And I think the filmmakers did a pretty good job at stretching the budget. They had some pretty decent VFX in there with the burning body and everything. And for what it's worth, I feel like the filmmakers should be given credit for the as well as the actors for their willingness to go through with some of these scenes and visuals that were in the script. There's some pretty like heavy stuff in there, and it takes a lot of courage to be able to actually put that on tape. So I think that this was a really interesting one, and
very fun indie horror film. Just like any other horror film, I kept guessing what was going to happen, and I never guessed it right. By the time I got to the end, I was very surprised as to where it ended up. And I think like the cult sort of aspect is a really fun one to discover, especially right now in horror. I thought each of the characters were very distinct, and oftentimes subverting the expectation that you expected would be assigned to them. I thought it played with like modern day tropes very well, in a way that I think a lot of modern horror movies aren't really touching on. Characters doing a lot of things that kind of feel like Instagram trends, but that's not a bad thing at all. I thought the practical effects were really fun, really campy. I also really like that it takes place in one place. Those are, for me, are some of my favorite horror films. Um, I like that the cabin felt like a character, um, felt very confining, and there are all these weird quirks and things to it that you wouldn't expect from, if you were to rent an Airbnb and you were to go there and see something like that, you would definitely feel like something was off. Um, Speaking about the ending of the film, I like how the style is sort of switched up a little bit, or how it feels like, in a few ways, like when the characters are at the cabin, it kind of feels like this like shaky found footage in a few spots, and then towards the end it's very like polished. um yeah. Overall, I think it was a really fun indie
I want to
horror.
credit Tonya Pinkins, first of all, for not only writing, directing, and starring in Red Pill, but also serving as production designer in a film that has this many tight interiors and as focused as it does to the indoor environment. That's a very important thing, especially when it comes to the placement of the bestial pictures, the surveillance, the idea of the surveillance footage happening. It's the internal production design is a very, very important thing that is often underlooked in the movies. The film truly makes us empathize with Cassandra, who appears to be the sole voice of reason, and that she is the one who senses danger in this redneck community. She's the one who knows who makes all the sensible decisions, and is the one who thinks that they should leave. The others do vocalize their apprehensions and anxieties against the symbolism of racism and hatred, but Cassandra appears to be the only one who actually fears for their safety, and she's the one who is truly victimized in the film. I think that the sense of empathy is very important, and it was my favorite thing about the film, because the film really does truly make us want to know what it's like to be a black woman in America. That there's a real reason for her to want to go to Bali during the 2020 election. In this way, that because of her anxiety and the fact that she's not really respected and listened upon, and they speak behind her back, we kind of have a better idea of what it's like to be a black woman in America and to have these problems that they're currently facing regarding police brutality, racism, sexism, symbiology, and bestiality. I think that the red pill signifies woke behavior, and according to Cassandra, also sabotage. Due to their ignorance of being watched and surveillance, each of the main characters who were sent here to Virginia to canvass this now turned blue area, they embody a pre-woke characteristic in that it borders on somewhat like childish innocence. They're all seemingly, the fact that they can sing along and groove in harmonic style to each other shows that they're almost kind of like a kid-like culture. And that's why they're probably so victimized against the white hunters. That I had that every time I saw the villains and the white privilege, white supremacy advocates of the red bill. I kept thinking that they were hunters, and that also made me realize that a black woman in America probably believes that she is being hunted because she doesn't have any voice. She can't protest that I don't want hunting season to be happening, but that is, as we see in the papers more and more, that is what is happening in America today. We really see that childish innocence. What happens when Nick pleads with Rocky's killer after they've killed Rocky? He pleads with them to instead of trying to make a stand against them. And madness, mind control, racism, sexism, all those are very powerful motifs. Are very, very powerfully explored in this movie, and those were all those I thought were very powerful representations. And I think that other people. The thing that people are definitely going to want to talk about when they're leaving the theater, though, is that image of Nick's flaming corpse. That was a very well shot, well edited, and well executed, no pun intended, well executed camera trick. And I think that that's going to be something that audiences are really going to have an affection for. That and the orgasmic tendencies of the white privileged super host who has whenever she hears the screams of those who are suffering.